Hey everyone, it's Freaky. In today's build, I have a new personal favorite solar warlock going. With Verity's Brow and some top solar weapons, I have been heading into Grandmaster Nightfalls like this week's Mars Heist and just crushing it with the insane grenade spam and damage. With this build, you can set the world on fire in any activity and have a blast while doing it. Of course, with all my builds, you have a picture at the end along with a dim link in the description for easy copying. Without further ado, let's jump into today's build. Starting off with the subclass, we obviously have Well of Radiance for the many amazing things it does for us. It's strong in almost every situation and can be placed down at the beginning of an encounter or in a panic to save yourself. It also gives piercing rounds so you can stun barrier champions with normal weapons, allowing for more flexibility in weapon choice. Next, because we're on solar, I prefer using Phoenix Dive over the Rifts. Phoenix Dive can be instantly cast by jumping and diving immediately to receive the cure or restoration if heat rises is active, making it a powerful safety tool for when you get caught out. A Rift's casting time can be a little long, and in that time you can be sniped or smacked easily, which is why I personally like running Phoenix Dive, as it provides a strong instant heal as well as some major hitbox displacement, allowing you to dodge tons of shots with ease. For our melee ability, we have Celestial Fire over Incinerator Snap. Both are good in their own respects, and both are good in different situations, but I find Celestial Fire's range and damage helps to be a lot more useful to us in endgame content. We end up spamming our melee quite a bit because of Ember of Searing, so don't be afraid to use it. Just be sure to land your hits on it so you apply Radiant from Ember of Torches. And then over to our grenade, we're going to be picking up Solar Grenade for its high sustained damage on targets. Now this isn't to say you can't run a different grenade like Fusion with this build, as it ends up being very versatile in what you can run. With Verity's Brow, we get up to 250% additional base grenade regen and 100% increased grenade damage, meaning pretty much any grenade you pick will end up doing some crazy high damage. Solar Grenade gets even higher continuous damage, and as well you don't have to worry about its long cooldown, but Fusion Grenade starts to get some really high damage if it sticks onto an enemy. Just choose what works best for you. Keep in mind that Fusion Grenade can blow yourself up. And then moving on to the first aspect, we have Touch of Flame, which enhances our grenade's functionality. Solar gets a little lava blobs that it spews out, and then Fusion nades explode twice for even more damage. And then over to our second aspect, we have Heat Rises, which is an all-around good aspect. We get melee energy on takedowns while gliding, and we get to consume our grenade for healing if need be. In endgame content, you'll mostly be using this for the ability to eat grenades for heals. You won't be gliding around much in endgame content, as you end up getting caught out a lot and can easily be sniped. But in low to mid content, you'll have a blast floating indefinitely and sniping everything from above. Down to the fragments, we have Ember of Tempering for more recovery and the ability to bake fire sprites on solar weapon takedowns. Fire sprites give 12.5% grenade energy on pickup, so being able to spawn them so easily is big for us. Next, we have Ember of Torches, which makes Celestial Fire hits make us Radiant for 8 seconds. Radiant gives 25% weapon damage and allows normal weapons to stun barrier champions. We also have Ember of Singeing, which gives us 300% additional base class ability regen for 3 seconds after we scorch something, which we constantly do. This lets us Phoenix Dive way more and stay alive way more. And then finally, we have Ember of Searing, so we can get our melee back quick and so we can spawn more fire sprites. Since we're constantly scorching things, it means we're going to be constantly throwing out celestial fires. And that does it for the subclass. Now for the weapons. Starting off strong, we have Polaris Lance as our go-to endgame weapon. It has wicked range, it's unstoppable this season so it gets overcharged for that 25% damage buff, and it has big explosive rounds that are amazing at taking down champions and big enemies. As someone who uses Wishender a lot in endgame content, it's nice to use something that's just as viable and also has a lot more going to it with these explosions and scorch procking. We also have Sunshot, which has become a beast in low to mid content. Pretty much anything that's not Grandmaster or maybe even Master you can run this in. It's also overload rounds this season, so it's viable, but unfortunately it doesn't get the overcharged buff because of a bug right now, so do keep that in mind. You also have Tiku's Divination and Hierarchy of Needs, which are both two fantastic solar bows. Tiku's is probably the better choice since it can apply Scorch, but Hierarchy still has a lot of strengths as it has a lot of range to it. As far as legendary weapons go, you always want a weapon you can get rapid solar takedowns with to proc Verity's Brow perk, but in cases where I'll use the Eremite or Royal Executioner in my energy slot, I'll make sure to have on fixed odds or some solar machine gun so I can still take down plenty of adds with the solar weapon in rapid succession. Moving on to the artifact perks, we grab 3 anti-champion mods depending on what we are running. These give overcharge to the weapons too, which is a 25% damage increase in legend and higher activities. Second column, we got Diviner's Discount, so scavenger mods cost 1, and then origin perk specialization 1, which enhances the origin traits on weapons from Season of the Witch, Season of the Deep, Lightfall, and Crota's End. We also have Origin Perk Specialization 2, which overcharges those weapons, and then of course we have Elemental Orb Solar, so we can cause more explosions and scorches. For fourth column, we always grab Elemental Fury for the 35% increased ability damage to champions, as well as Semi-Auto Striker, so we can generate free armor charges with scout rifles and bows. If we need to take Overload Machine Gun, then we grab it, but if not, then we go for Refreshing Pickups for that 33% energy to our least charged ability when picking up an Elemental Orb. Overload Machine Guns doesn't grab overcharged to the weapon, so we don't need to run it all the time. And then finally, for the fifth column, we get Monochromatic Maestro for 10% ability and weapon damage when dealing damage with the opposite type. So whenever you're about to throw a grenade, just get 1 solar round off on someone to get that extra damage up. And then finally, grab Rapid Fire Ranger so we can apply a 15% weaken to any enemy. And that does it for the artifact perks. Moving on to the armor mods. Starting off, we have our exotic helmet, Verity's Brow, which comes with the perk Fourth Magic. Solar Weapon Final Blows give us a stacking 50% grenade regen and 20% grenade damage. This stacking is called Death Throws, which stacks up to 5 times, so you cap out at 250% regen and 100% damage, which is crazy high. As well as on Grenade Throw with Death Throws active, we give our allies 10 times grenade regen speed. This exotic is perfect for buffing ourselves up and our allies all at once just by playing the game like we do. For the helmet mods, we have Ashes to Assets for more super energy on Grenade Final Blows, as well as Font of Wisdom for a plus 30 in intellect while we have an armor charge, which we always do. And then of course we grab Harmonic Siphon so our solar final blows spawn orbs of power. For stat focusing, we of course go 100 resilience for the 30% damage resist, then we go high discipline for more grenade, and then try to get your recovery to 40. Anything 50 or higher will result in wasted stats, as we get 30 recovery from Ember of Tempering, and 30 recovery from Font of Restoration for 100 recovery while we have armor charges, and are just playing the game by getting solar takedowns. Over to the gloves, we have Impact Induction and Focusing Strike, so on Celestial Fire hits, we get 20% grenade and class ability energy back. We have Ember of Searing, so we get our melee back quick enough as it is, so we don't need to worry about running something like Momentum Transfer. We also grab Firepower, so all our Grenade Final Blows spawn orbs of power for us. More orbs means more wells, which means more damage and more surviving. To the chest, we got 2 elemental resists to match the threat modifier. Solar threat means run double solar resistance, and then throw on a third different resist, whether it be an arc or a concussive dampener. Concussive dampener, melee damage resist, and sniper damage resistance can all stack with your solar damage resist, but going for a second elemental resist can cause you to cover more damage types on whatever activities you're doing. It all depends on what activities you're doing, but if you're going into Grandmasters, I suggest running 2 different types of elemental resists just to cover your bases, rather than running 1. Down to the boots, we pick up Double Solar Weapon Surge for a 17% damage increase to our solar weapons while we have an armor charge. With Semi-Auto Striker, we always have charges, so we always have more damage, and then we also grab Recuperation, so we get heals on Orbs of Power pickup, which comes in super handy. And lastly, the bond, we have Bomber for 20% grenade energy on Phoenix Dive, and then Time Dilation so armor charges last 15 seconds instead of 10, and then finally Font of Restoration for a plus 30 in recovery while we have an armor charge. And that does it for the build. Now I have to say that this has been some of the most awesome and fun destructive power that I have had with Solar Warlock in a long time. And if you're a fan of Starfire Protocol, then you'll probably really enjoy this build, as you get crazy high grenade damage and you get them back really fast. I know a lot of people prefer Sunbracers and I enjoy them quite a lot myself, but Verity's Brow just feels a lot better for getting that super high grenade damage rather than just a bunch of grenades off. As well as I think its damage from Death Throws at ×5 allows for a lot higher damage in endgame content. Plus, triggering Monochromatic Maestro means your grenades have no trouble taking down Grandmaster champions or shredding through boss health bars. Also, make sure to throw your grenade first and your melee last so you don't waste any energy regen from impact induction or focusing strike. We also have bomber, but don't phoenix dive unless you have to, so you don't end up needing it and it's not regened. Even still, with Ember of Singeing we get it back quick enough, so don't worry too much about it. Just throw your grenade, light things on fire, and unleash your inner pyromancer with this build. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed and want to see more. If you have any questions or suggestions, don't be afraid to comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, everyone.